So today is electrics day in the van, and if like me you've spent 3, 4, 5 days, weeks thinking about the electrics and not knowing where to go, hopefully I'll give you a little bit of help here. I did like an infernal circle, going around and around in circles, thinking if I want one type of unit, then I have to put the electrics one place. If I want a different bed, then I want a different place. It was all down to I want to use my van as a work van as well as a leisure van. So I need a little bit of space at the back, which means finally, after weeks of searching, I'm now going for a rib bed if I can find one. But that gives me the ability to have the side cabinets. So the first thing was to try and put in the split charge, and the split charge, we've all seen the videos for split charge, is fairly easy. But what we didn't see, and what people don't tell you, is how to get the cable from the front, from the middle of the vehicle behind the seat to the back of the vehicle. And on top of that, there's 3 different lengths of cables. Now I made the mistake of ordering the 5-meter cable, thinking yep, that'll do. But the 5-meter cable, that reaches to here. The shorter one reaches to underneath the seat, and the long one, 7 meters, runs to the end of to the back of the vehicle. I mean, the front of the vehicle was easy. Just take your time and put a nice cable in with the fuse around the battery and go through the bulkhead, as in the 101 other videos that you've got. But that's where it all goes a bit sideways. You run it under the seats, down the centre underneath the rubber mat. I took the time to take the seats out, the mat out, all the trim around the dash, everything, just to make sure I could lube it in properly, cable tie it all the nice places, make sure it was all properly done. But if I swap the camera around now to show you the other side, this is where things became difficult. So most people run the cable, excuse all my other wires, along here, along there, and then round here, and then up into this panel. I didn't like the idea of that, because you'll have a panel sat on it, you'll have some sort of a drill hole through it, and then up into it. So I decided to do this. Don't do what I did. If you're going to do this, do it in a different location, because I found out that I drilled it in the wrong place. So here there's an angle, and behind it there's a flat. If you drill about here or here, you go straight through into the box section behind this, and it's just 2 flat plates next door to each other. Me, I had to drill an angled one and then into the flat plate, which wasn't great. Behind here there is a natural hole that is in the B-post. Now if I was to put my hand all the way in here, right to the back, there is a natural hole. So what I've done is I've routed the cable through that hole, through the natural hole, grommets everywhere of course, and then into this. Now I could have just left cables and routed them through the vehicle, but I don't like that idea. I want everything protected. So I bought 20mm conduit, ribbed for the annoyance of trying to get the wires through. So I then ran the power cable through the rib all the way along, up, and then behind this panel there is a natural hole, and then out right down to the back of the vehicle. So I have now got power cable all the way to the back. If I sit back a little bit and I'll show you without falling out the van, the plan was, obviously up here is where the unit sits, and that's where your control panel is if you want it. So I've routed plastic conduit, and I've put string through it so that I can pull the wires through at a later date if I decide to, and that will enable me to put the wires up to the top of here to connect to the power unit, through the conduit. It will then go it will come from the battery up to the power distribution. The distribution will then feed back down, and it will go through that pipe there, round, and that will feed the fridge and the pump for the water. I've also routed cables, which are these two heavy gauge black and red. They run through the conduit all the way to the front to go under the seat for the heater. I know it was a bit of a faff, but people don't explain this, and it's driven me mad, because I like to spend the time and I like to do things right, and I like to think that the cable in the right places. It just frustrated me. So hopefully me showing you those few things, that will enable you to get the routing through to where you want it. You can then put all your electrics in, and if you're clever, which I wasn't, you'll use half decent methods to get the cables back in. I mean, here's a couple of tools that I used that were really easy. Some people have them, some people don't. This one here is a grabber. So as you put the cables through, you can grab it from the other side. And this was just a hard piece of plastic wire, which I crimped an eyelet on the end, and I poked through, and then I can pull it back. Obviously you'll need some cable ties, because they need to be tied up and you don't want them rattling in the van. You'll need some side cutters and some insulation tape to wrap everything up. Apart from that, once you've got a plan in your head of where things are going to go and how you want them, then everything else should be pretty gravy. I mean, you've got an earthing point at the back of the van. That's where the battery is going to connect to, and that's probably where all the earthing junction points are going to connect to. So realistically, after that, it's just a case of routing things through. Now, one more thing that you might like to know is up here, which all in through here is a channel. I've actually routed cables through the channel all the way from there to the front of the van, and then down the B post, because I'm going to be running speakers, I'm going to have amps and things like that to connect everything off. So yeah, that's another way of doing it. Obviously the original electrics on the other side of the van are just clipped in with clips and banded out the way. It's much neater to have it inside, it's out of the way, and then if you decide to have your roof cut and taken off, then they're not in the way. Somebody can cut them without having to worry about it too much. Hopefully guys, this is, helps you out. I'm sure I'll be doing other ones again in the future. Thanks.